Car chases are dangerous and unpredictable. Viewer discretion advised.
A stolen vehicle pursuit underway. Assignment manager Mark Liu is at the desk. Mark, what's happening here?
Okay, Amy, this is happening right now in the San Fernando Valley. This is actually in the Van Nuys area near Roscoe and Van Nuys Boulevard. So that silver vehicle you see there, that's a silver four-door newer model Camry. LAPD officers out of the Foothill Division have been chasing that car for the better part of about 30 minutes. SkyCal just getting overhead. They're describing it as a stolen vehicle. The police code was code 37. It's a stolen vehicle. We know that the driver is an adult woman inside that car. Now, first, it was a lights and sirens pursuit. The air unit is overhead. The LAPD helicopter is tracking that silver Camry. They went into what's called tracking mode. Amy, we've seen this many times before where the LAPD officers from Foothill Division are backing off, and the air unit is the one that is going to track this vehicle for the foreseeable future. Now, there was a period where this car was driving very recklessly. It was on the wrong side of the road at Nordhoff and Van Nuys, but now that there are no lights and sirens behind it, it appears to be obeying the rules of the road somewhat. It is traveling a little faster than normal. It's kind of circling this area here near the railroad tracks near Blythe and Van Nuys Boulevard. For a while, the driver of this car got out and parked on Arminta, went into the trunk of the car and got what appeared to be a sunshade, we heard the air unit describe, and put the sunshade up and perhaps pretend like there was no one in the car. Well, the air unit was overhead and began directing LAPD officers to get into position to put spike strips on the sides of the street. And as soon as those LAPD officers began to approach this vehicle, that driver took off again. So here we are now driving through the greater part of Van Nuys. We're now, I believe, somewhere near Van Nuys and maybe Keswick, heading in a southbound direction, as LAPD officers are now coordinating with the air unit to stay behind this car at a reasonable distance. But Amy, no lights and sirens behind it right now.
Yes, Mark, and of course we know that is always an attempt to get these drivers to slow down. This woman doesn't seem to be going too fast, stopping there at a red curb there, maybe trying to park and maybe stop. That would be the best case scenario. Wow, perhaps she doesn't know that the deputies are up in the air still keeping a close eye on this vehicle?
Well, I'll tell you, this is now the second time that we have seen this driver do this, to sort of pull over, stop, roll down the window. Now, there's virtually no way that she could not know that there are helicopters in the area. There's at least 4 media airships like SkyCal and 1 LAPD chopper that is flying much lower than the media helicopters. So it's very loud where this car is. You'll be able to, if you've ever heard 1 helicopter fly over your house, imagine 5 helicopters. So certainly this driver is perhaps trying to make a determination as to whether or not there are any LAPD officers in the area that are going to approach her in their patrol cars on the ground. But there is definitely a very large air presence overhead. So there's really no way for this driver to evade law enforcement at this time with so many eyes on this silver Camry. But it's really anyone's guess what this driver is doing. As I said before, when they were parked over in Arminta, this driver got out, went to the trunk, got a sunshade, put the sunshade up and rolled up the windows. And as you can see, the windows here, very dark, very tinted. We did hear on the radio that LAPD officers thought there were multiple people in the car, but really only the driver, described as an adult woman, has been seen so far. So we're really not sure how many other people are in this car. Also, no word of any weapons or anything like that, no brandishing of any handguns or anything of that nature. Just some reckless driving near the beginning of this pursuit. It started on San Fernando Road and with just a traffic stop, an attempt to pull this car over as it was described as a stolen vehicle. That led to the pursuit, and now here we are on Raymer Street in Van Nuys.
And, you know, at times like this, when you just want to know what's going on in that car, Mark, because the windows are tinted, there could be multiple people in there with her, but you're wondering if she's just trying to hide out. Maybe, you know, somehow thinking that she can fool someone, that she was not being chased by law enforcement and just is now parked, although she's chosen, you know, maybe not the best place to park because she is there in front of a red curb. So even if she weren't being pursued by those officers, she might be attracting the attention of other officers, or at least, parking, authorities that would say, hey, you're in front of a red curb. So So interesting to see what is going to happen here. Again, this is Raymer. There are no black and white units nearby to, approach the car or approach this driver, or if they're even attempting to get some law enforcement over there. Perhaps, this is one where they feel like they could, make it safer by not approaching, but hard to say at this point as we just watch as this silver stolen Camry sits there on Raymer Street. Again, it is reported stolen.
Yeah, and also I'll tell you, Amy, as I was going back, as SkyCal was on the way to this pursuit, I was going back and listening to the radio traffic that was archived. We have a system where we record the radio traffic of the LAPD, and here at the assignment desk, we can rewind it and listen to it. And there was one point where this car was on the 5 freeway. It was just east of Laurel Canyon on the 5. When LAPD officers chasing it saw something fly out of this vehicle. They described it as a package. It was tossed from this vehicle. They think it possibly may have been narcotics. So officers are now searching for that on the side of the freeway. We also now are seeing just 2 people walking right by this car, oblivious to the fact that this driver is wanted for driving a stolen vehicle. And this does highlight the dangers of pursuits. A lot of times there's really no way for the public to know that this is a wanted individual and has been driving erratically and dangerously. Now, we still don't have any information yet about LAPD units coming up on the ground, but as I was discussing earlier, they do have units over on the 5 freeway at Laurel Canyon where they're searching for whatever this driver tossed out, or someone in this car, I should say, tossed out. And the initial description was that it appeared to be narco, which they believe, which we know the police is sort of shorthand on the radio for narcotics, may have been tossed out of this car.
Well, Mark, it's interesting. We saw those 2 women walking by, and now there is another person in one of those bright colored vests. And it's interesting to see, if they're working in this area, why exactly they're wearing those vests in this area. But certainly no law enforcement in the area. And as we continue to watch to see if this person is going to get out of the stolen silver Camry or if they're just going to sit there for a while. But we have seen multiple people in the area very close by. And we're getting a wider look here at this area just to give you a better idea of what this area actually includes. And it does look very industrial here on Raymer Street. But the driver in that car, no one getting out. We don't know how many people are in this stolen vehicle. But Mark, as you were mentioning before, the driver did get out at one point, got a sunshade out of the trunk. And now we're wondering why she's still just sitting there and what her next plan is.
Yeah, Amy, so as I was just listening to some radio traffic from the LAPD air commander that's overhead, it's sometimes a little frustrating for communication issues between LAPD divisions. This air commander has moved from one division to another, moved from Foothill Division to Mission Division to now Van Nuys Division. These are all just sort of administrative divisions of the LAPD in the San Fernando Valley. But the initial pursuing division was the LAPD Foothill Division. Those officers sort of went into tracking mode and then went back to base when it went onto the 5 freeway. This car now here in Van Nuys Division, and the air commander is talking to dispatch saying, hey, listen, I've been tracking this stolen vehicle overhead. We don't have any officers behind it. Hey, dispatch, do you have any officers in the area that have a spike strip? Maybe we can get them in front of and behind this car. It's not moving. This is a sparsely populated street. This is a perfect opportunity to place spike strips around a vehicle that's not moving. And the dispatch is telling them they're trying to vector in some officers to do that, but they're really just there's not always an officer available with spike strips to do that. You have to be trained on how to use that. So they are trying to do that right now, but in the meantime, this air commander continues to keep an eye on this car. And Amy, as you said, it's very strange. Perhaps this driver, described as an adult woman wearing a gray tank top with black shorts, is in there maybe on the phone, maybe just running the air conditioning. It is a very hot day in Van Nuys, right by the railroad tracks there. And you can see just people, like you said, pedestrians walking by oblivious, probably wondering why there are 5, maybe 6 helicopters circling over this one spot by the railroad tracks. But the air unit's not giving up here, and they're going to do their best to vector in some LAPD units. These people probably here realizing something's going on because they're seeing so many helicopters overhead. Cars also slowing down. We don't know if that driver is talking to people as they pass. It's difficult to tell. It looked like perhaps that window was rolled down, but I couldn't tell, Amy.
Yeah, and you know, some of these people, oh, now she's taken off again, Mark, you know, and at a high rate of speed. It looked like that person who was, you know, taking pictures, perhaps they knew that this car was, you know, involved in a pursuit, and they came out to see it. Hopefully they were watching KCAL and went out to see if the car was as close as they were seeing on TV. Now we've got a little traffic there, and we're going to have to see how aggressively she tries to get away, but certainly waiting her turn at that intersection. But,
yeah, now the last off that fast was because an LAPD unit was coming up behind her, and it did sound like the air unit had just told an officer that was approaching, hey, she's on the right side of the road, she's by herself, it's a silver Toyota Camry. So there may have been, SkyCal maybe just didn't catch it, but there may have been a patrol unit that was coming up behind, and now here she is stopped again, just further on down the road here at Raymer and Kester. As she waits, you know, we're not sure where that LAPD unit, or if there even was one. Perhaps this driver just got spooked by something that she saw on the street. Like you said, there was someone on their cell phone. I don't know if they knew someone on the street. But right now, again, we're in that waiting game where I do see, let me check the radar. It does look like, yeah, I'm seeing the air unit continuing to circle. N662PD, that's the LAPD Air Support Division, flying at about 1,500 feet, orbiting here with that very powerful camera, similar to the one that SkyCal has right now. Of course, the LAPD one has night vision and a bunch of other surveillance type equipment on it, but they're going to keep an eye on this driver. They're not going to get away, and they're going to see if they can maybe take her into custody as soon as a LAPD unit gets on scene.
Yeah, Mark, it looked like there was a lot of movement there in the driver's seat. You see the arm moving, and a lot of movement there for this person. And I was thinking at one point that perhaps they were running out of gas, and that's why they were pulled over. But she took off at such a high rate of speed, it does not appear that, you know, she's out of gas. But you see people seem to be noticing what's going on. You just saw somebody next to her waving outside of the window. So if they know, she knows, and you just have to wonder what her next plan is. But definitely a lot of movement in that driver's side car. You could see her arm moving around quite a bit. Can't quite make out what she's doing there with those dark tinted windows, though.
Yeah, so, you know, Amy, we have seen this phenomenon before sometimes with pursuits that start to linger in a similar area. Since everyone has mobile phones, KCAL is streamed everywhere. You can watch this pursuit in multiple different places. People begin to realize when a pursuit is in their neighborhood, and sometimes you can get people doing that thing that you saw that man hanging outside of the car. This is not a recommended thing to do during a pursuit. No one thinks it's a good idea in order to get out there. It's very dangerous. You know, you need to stay away from operations like this because of how reckless and dangerous pursuits can be. Now it looks like someone making a U-turn directly in front of this car, and this female driver, this lady, again on the move, this woman waiting now at least for cars to get out of the way. We saw a little bit of reckless driving before where she would drive on the wrong side of the road. It's unclear why all of these cars are now parked. Amy, we may be seeing a type of civilian intervention here. At first I thought it was just a coincidence that it was one, maybe two cars doing a U-turn, but this looks like several vehicles working in conjunction to try to stop this person. I'm not sure what's going on here, but that was a very close call between that yellow work truck and that silver car. Not sure what we were seeing there. If that could have just been a coincidence of multiple people turning around at the same time, I'm not sure. Yeah,
unfortunately, we couldn't see what was up ahead, but it did appear that everyone was turning around. There's a spike strip.
There it was.
Caught at least the rear tire, it looked like, but definitely a spike strip thrown out there. And we all know that in time, if it was a successful approach there, that those tires will start to go down. They don't go immediately. It takes a little while for the air to come out of those tires, but it will certainly make it difficult for her to continue driving. Did you hear, Mark, that that was coming up? Do you think that that might have been why the cars were turning around? Do you think law enforcement was up ahead?
It's possible. I'm actually listening to the air radio traffic now. It does look like they got a good strike on the passenger front tire. The right front tire does look like it's deflating. You can actually physically see it with SkyCal's zoom lens. There's a second spike strip. Now this person stopped. Guns drawn. LAPD officers now commanding that driver to get out. It's an extremely dangerous situation here. This driver does not appear to want to go over that spike strips again, but now 2 officers from LAPD now at guns drawn. That driver, though, maybe hands out. I do see one hand out. Looks like she is complying, Amy. Nobody else apparently in the car. Doesn't look like there's anybody in the passenger seat. But some sort of white powder or something just came out of the car. Not sure what that was. Did you see that, Amy?
I did see something. It looked almost like a little puff of white smoke, or as you mentioned, powder. So definitely the cops saw it too. They certainly got a better look at that. But 2 hands out of the window, and this is after we saw that one spike strip. We were just showing it to you on the right side of the screen. That happened just moments ago. And then the driver heading back the other end, and another spike strip right in front of that car. And they were putting it out and were able to actually get their guns out and draw them on that driver. Now is when we're trying to see if there is anyone else in the car, but so far we don't see anyone else. She's got both hands up. I'm sure at this point this is what officers are telling her to do, and they have stepped back, though, however.
Yeah, this was a crossfire situation. So these officers, they retreated a little bit more to the rear to make sure that the 2 officers, the 2 patrol cars that came up from behind, were not going to have a line of fire issue. So you can see officers taking a more standardized approach here, getting behind the vehicle. They're going to make sure that no officers respond from the other side as well. They don't want to have officers in the line of fire. But you can see now officers taking cover. And you see that officer there with that green rifle right there. That is a less than lethal. It looks like a 40 millimeter foam round. That fires basically a very firm, spongy bullet that is designed to, it hurts if you get struck, but it's not designed to basically penetrate. But this woman now getting out without opening the door, you can see, looks like she's complying. Not sure why she didn't open the door there and just get out regularly, but she climbed through the window. Now it looks like she is going to comply and walking backwards towards officers. They're going to take her into custody and make sure that there's no one else in the vehicle. Now, this is a painful thing for a suspect to do, to get on hot pavement. Yes. But all those officers are going to come up and handcuff her after they make sure that it's safe to do so. The tinted windows, Amy, is a problem. They can't be sure if there's anybody else in the car. And I'll tell you, the initial radio call was that there was more than one person in the car. So those officers are aware of that. They're not sure if that's accurate or not, but they're going to treat it, though, as it is accurate. You can see an officer there with a shotgun approaching. They're going to clear that car. And once they clear that car, they're going to be able to take that woman into custody. Absolutely,
Mark. And we're watching as they do open up those doors, or at least try to get inside that car to make sure that there is no one else in there. We can see they're checking the back seat. They've really got to get up close to that car to make sure, because those windows are tinted so dark. They're also looking at the trunk, perhaps, because we do know that she had gone into the trunk a little earlier to get that sunshade, and it looks like they're going to maybe pop the trunk open to take a look in there as well. But we see her now being lifted up off of the pavement there to be taken into that cruiser there, into the back seat. And we will also try to see if they do, in fact, pop that trunk to see if there is anyone else in there. They are checking to make sure that she doesn't have anything on her. I guess not a lot of clothing to be hiding any type of weapons. But
yeah, there is a female officer there. That female officer will conduct a pat-down search of that suspect. And as you can see, there's no one in the trunk. But I'm pretty sure the air unit knew that, because they witnessed that woman open the trunk earlier, and there was no human in there, that she got that sunshade out of there. But you had commented something before, and that looks like some sort of notebook that fell out of the car when that woman got out. It almost looks like a school notebook, something that you would use at school for those of us that went to school in the 80s and 90s. You remember, like Trapper Keeper books, but that came out of the car when the suspect surrendered. But looks like the suspect now in custody, code 4, no one else in the car. So thankfully no injuries here and no collisions, Amy.
All right, Mark, thanks so much.